Hey guys, we have a beautiful day today. Blue sky, got a nice cross breeze, so it's gonna be a good day to do a quick video on long range shooting, what I see through the scope cam, some of the pieces of kit that I use to make these shots a little more reliable and easy, and also a quick conversation about spin drift and how it affects air gunning. I know that a lot of guys dismiss it with center fire rifles, but that's just not doable with an air rifle. This is in no way meant to be a fully comprehensive guide to how to shoot long range. It's just some of my thoughts that I wanted to share with you. The first thing that you're going to need is a rifle capable of shooting long range, and we're just going to assume that you have that and it's tuned. The most important thing you can have for that rifle is dope, and that can be turret tape or charts on the side of your gun. And there's advantages to doing turret tape and there's disadvantages to it as well. But the number one thing is that you know how to dial for those longer range shots, because if you don't and it's just a guess, then you can forget about hitting your target. We want to know that the elevation is going to be perfect every time, and wind is the only thing that we need to consider. These groups were shot at 35 yards during the tuning process. Those flyers, the ones that left the group, absolutely had to get out of there. So I tuned it until I could shoot one ragged hole to have a chance at these longer ranges. And if anything, there's a slight wind from the right, so I'm going to cancel it with spin and send it. Gathering dope or getting real-world drop data should be done at least 10-yard increments. Computer programs like StrayLock and Shooter are great to get you close, but nothing can take the place of verified dope. This is 130 yards. What's the velocity?
828 the first shot, 835 the second shot.
Okay, and
831 third shot.
Okay. Once you've verified your dope, then you can make up turret tapes, and they will allow you to change ranges quickly and easily because the yardage is written right on them, and you don't have to consult a chart with mils or MOA. The one problem with main turret tapes is that they're not removable. So I came up with this magnetic strips flipped so that they stick to each other. It works for me, and the best part about it is that if you have changing loads or changing weather or changing barometric pressure, you can make up multiple tapes and store them on your scope tube. Having a level on your gun is another thing that I consider imperative for anything over 75 yards or so. If your scope or your gun is canted when you take longer shots, especially if you have a moderator or a shroud on, that scope cant's going to matter big time, so get your gun level. This little doodad is another thing that I consider a really good tool to have. You can do it with a rear bag or a sand sock, but this one's attached to the gun and it's adjustable for height. But the really cool part is you can just grab it and squeeze and move your hand back and forth, and that'll change the elevation of the rear butt pad in your shoulder. So it's a nice little add-on, not necessary, but I like it. All right, so our intended target is the center dot in the middle of that head. It's literally about the size of a thumbnail, and we're gonna be shooting that at 131 yards. And I can see that the grass is moving quite a bit up on that knoll, and I have a wind flag down here, and that's kind of switching all around. Now, I can tell for sure that the predominant wind is coming from the left, and it's a little more than 6 miles an hour, I would say, based on the mirage. I don't know if you can see that, but I can. But anyway, I know that in a 5 mile an hour cross breeze, I need about 3.5, and I feel it picking up now, and you can see it on the grass. So I'm gonna say that this is more like 6, and if I'm wrong, then we'll adjust and make a quick correction and see if we can hit the dot. That is pretty good. So obviously looks pretty good on target, but the takeaway is that would have smoked a pigeon or a woodchuck too, and that's really the point of making these cold bore shots and calling the wind. Now, it's easier to shoot when you don't have any wind at all, but that doesn't really teach you anything. So you want to get out on these windy days. It looks so calm right there, but it's all trickery. That grass up there is moving pretty good, but it's short, so you can't trust that too much. The mirage is really what's going to tell you. And, you know, when it bends really hard and almost goes across the ground near in the 10, 12 mile an hour zone, I don't think we're quite there, but it's kind of a swag, you know, scientific wild A guess. The anatomy of a long-range shot is one of my favorite things. It's complicated but simple. First, you range your target. Once you've verified that you have a good range, then you're going to check on your dope chart. That's going to tell you a couple things: how much elevation to dial, and if you've done your real homework and shot a lot outdoors, it'll also tell you how much wind to hold. Then you have to consider one more thing. Spin drift can be intimidating to those not used to dealing with it, but it's always there, whether you decide to acknowledge it or not, so you might as well use it. At 100 yards with a 25 caliber slug, we're looking at about a half MOA, and at 175, it's a full MOA. Now that can help you or hurt you. If you factor it in every time, then it can only help you hit your target. You may not be able to call the wind that accurately, but you might as well try. Otherwise, what are we doing here? And the spin drift is constant. There's no reason to ignore it. It's one of the only things we know for sure. Coriolis effect is a little more difficult to deal with as it changes depending on what direction you're facing. The good news is it's really insignificant, less than a click, and I don't pay attention to it. I hope you were able to learn something, or at the very least enjoyed hearing what you already knew from another long-range enthusiast. I hope you watch our next episode and subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date with everything we're doing.